Welcome everybody to another episode. My name is Paul Dolsky, and today we're talking about an upcoming indie film from HMM Films and a couple other companies that our guest here can probably clarify better than me. But this is not going to off the top of my head right now. Too is writer. I'm not sure. Well, he can clarify this, but we're to say writer Cameron Scott. Cameron, thank you for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Looking forward to doing the show.
Definitely, man. I appreciate it. I'm trying to actually remember. I think it was last year is when I heard about Death Care, which originally was, I think, if knowledge remembers, the estimated date was supposed to be this year, but it looks like it got bumped into next year, actually. And anyway, I'm trying to remember how I first even heard about you guys, but I heard it probably from somebody else, and I just liked the idea, and then of course I had to support you guys because of the idea. But this is not really about how about me right now, but
well, it's all part of the story, man.
yeah, exactly. But it's cool that you guys are actually doing an Indiegogo now. I don't know if you really have anything to do with that, but I mean, we can even talk about
I help
that.
moderate it a little bit, and I moderate, some of the Facebook pages and whatnot. It's all kind of a partnership. A couple of us take care of things.
Yeah, Daniel is the one that I'm mostly known for contacting. I think he might actually be the one that I first bumped into too. So anyway, yeah. So Cameron, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into horror, and how Death Care came to be?
Ooh, that'll be your whole show, but I'll try to give you the elevator speech, sir. I got started in horror at an early age. I had a very cool mom that introduced me to all sorts of horror, to stuff that like the old classics, Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, to stuff you probably shouldn't have seen, like Glass House on the Left and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The young age that I managed to see some of this stuff, but it just blossomed into wanting to be artistic, and and wanting to create something when I was younger, and it was always about either writing or trying to do little like student films and whatnot on my own, which were never successful, but it was good practice. But just I ended up going to a convention back when Fangoria was all the norm. Before Fangoria had its resurgence, whatever you want to call it.
Are you not? Is it safe for me to say that you're not really? Do you like the new Fangoria nowadays?
I've only read the first issue, the one with Joe Bob on the cover. It's not bad, but it's a bit pricey for a magazine.
Yeah, $20 is quite a lot, and yeah, that was like issue 3, I think, of 2 or something. I don't even remember now.
Oh yeah, it might have been. I knew it was one of the first couple, but it's the only one I got. But yeah, Fangoria, a love for horror blossomed into Fangoria magazine, which led me to the Fangoria conventions of the early days, before there was anything like Days of the Dead or Cinema Wasteland or Horror Hound. But I met quite a few people. I met some of the first people was like Adam West, Kane Hodder. But then I met Linnea Quigley, who I was a big fan of, and we conversed over the internet for a long time. And one day she was filming in Indiana, my old home state, and invited me to come out to a movie set. And that's what got me bit with the movie making bug. Because I went to set, I helped out, kind of just pitched in, just took pictures and just behind the scenes type stuff. And it just blossomed into a love for filmmaking, And, I really, I owe a great deal to her just for inviting me to the set that time. Otherwise, who knows what I might end up doing.
Right.
But that led to my own feature film a couple of years later, that my first feature film, Postmortem America 2021, which was a black and white zombie western, you could call it. But I brought Linnea in and brought a bunch of people in, from the B movie world and the independent scene, and kind of have been doing short films ever since. And then, I had a I guess you could say a lull in my career because I ended up having a heart attack, and that was the genesis of Death Care. I kind of didn't do anything for a couple of years because I had a heart attack, and I've spent about last year and a half recovering from open heart surgery, and then following surgeries and complications and infections, and then more surgeries. I've had 5 surgeries in the last year and a half.
Holy shit.
It's I'm trying to give the short version because I could go on and on about that, but it really was the genesis for death care. A friend of mine, Tom Komisar, just called me up one day, wanted to know how I was doing. I had a wound vac hooked up and had a PICC line in my arm. I'm hooked up all this stuff at home, and I was under home nursing care, and I had run-ins with good nurses and bad nurses, and some that were really nice and did their job, and other ones were kind of like Nurse Ratched out of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And he simply asked me, how I was doing. I said, well, my new, nurse is pretty cool, but I'm like, her replacement's coming up next week. I don't know what she's going to be like. And he's like, well, what would you do if she wasn't cool? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, what if she meant you harm, wanted to kill you or hurt you somehow? And I'm like, well, considering all this stuff I'm on and hooked up to, I'm pretty helpless. I'd be screwed. And he simply said, he's like, there's a story in there somewhere, and there ain't nobody better to write it. He's like, you should write it. So I spent the next 2.5 weeks hammering out the script, finished it, and handed it back to him. And that was, it was all about a crazy doctor that dispatches this kind of gang of killer nurses to take out people that he's kind of like considers undesirable healthcare recipients. Or basically people that are going to, sue him for malpractice. So it's easier just to take them out than to cure them.
Oh boy. Well, that doesn't sound too pleasant. And so it's safe to say too that it's based off of real, true event that kind of happened to you. It seems, right? Because of the different
inspired.
Inspired.
Yeah, I mean, because it's all ridiculous. It's just about killer nurses, and mad scientist type doctors, but it does center around a couple of characters that are recovering, just simple people, just regular people recovering from surgeries and whatnot, are kind of infirm and whatnot, but trying to fight for their lives for these crazy people. And it just kind of evolved. It was a big exaggeration of what I felt like I had dealt with. It was just like this poor fella that had just been tortured with all these surgeries, and then there was more stuff. I'm like, okay, what would happen if a nurse came in and meant to kill him and to cause him harm? And like, how do you protect yourself when you're already, knocking on death's door? It's
like all doped up and everything. Yeah, I mean, how do you even do something like that? You don't even know like what's really serious or not serious, because depending on how whoopy you are, you're kind of like the wariest to everything's like funny, almost like laughing gas, but it's not really. Yeah. You're like so numb that you're just like, yeah, whatever. Oh my god.
Like, why is she pulling out a knife instead of a stethoscope? What the,
Yeah, exactly. It's yeah. I mean, it sounds like it's a really fun movie where it's not, well, it's not supposed to be serious, but at the same time, it seemed to almost have like I think I read somewhere about it's like a look at today's healthcare in a way, like in a weird way or something. Like
it's just taking those kind of situations and just turning them on their ear, and just making them crazy and more exaggerated than they ever would be in real life. But it's like some of the people are going to be like, oh yeah, that's the kind of surgery somebody would have if somebody had this condition. Like, oh, this is what would happen, physically if you accidentally, say, cut off an appendage. What would really happen? Because we're trying to think of it in terms like of realism but ridiculousness at the same time. There's realism in like some of the lingo, some of the situations with some of the patients and whatnot, and then other aspects are just absolutely bonkers ridiculous. So it's just one of those. You're gonna see it, and it's when it happens, you're gonna be like, did I really just see that? There's gonna be those moments where you're gonna rewind, but like they didn't really just go there. But yeah, we went there.
Nice. So you're pretty much just dropping the pants and letting the ball show. Pretty much is what's going on here. You're not really holding anything back. Yeah.
No, not at all. And we've completed our first shoot a few weekends ago. We're raising the funds on the Indiegogo to finish it with another shoot in November, and then the bulk of the film will be shot in about like April, May of next year. That is at least the plan.
Nice. So we should be seeing that around, I think I saw Halloween of 2020.
Yes. that's kind of what we're aiming for, giving us
Very
enough
cool.
post production and all that jazz.
What a nice little treat then for around the perfect holiday of just getting stabbed with a needle by
Yeah,
a nurse.
it's good.
So,
I hope if anything to the costume world, it does something for the the line of outfits that they have for killer nurses.
mm. Speaking of the killer nurses and stuff, you guys have a really, really amazing cast. Could you tell us a little bit of who you're really more excited for that you're able to have in your movie as a character as well?
Well, we got so many people, and I'm always going to be horrible and forget somebody. So if I do, I apologize. A couple of the bigger characters are being played by a couple of actresses and friends of ours, to HM&M and my company, Quattroventi Scott Productions. They worked with us before. Julianne Prescott and Andy Noor are playing two of the main nurses, and there's some scenes with them that are just crazy. This, as a writer and have written for many years, I've never created anything like this. I've never created such a wacky script, and it's going to be amazing to for me to finally see them performing dialogue that you've written is a very edifying process. And
Right.
they got some great scenes and some great dialogue. But they play two of the main nurses. We got Maria Olson, who is in the Paranormal Activity, Southbound. I got many more. I know she was in the new I Spit on Your Grave, the official sequel, Deja Vu.
Yep. Maria Olsen.
Maria Olson. Yes, and then God, we got Lynn Lowry, who is, if you don't know who she is, I don't know what rock you've been under, but
Exactly.
but she was in The Crazies, I Drink Your Blood, and Cronenberg flicks. Worked with Romero and whatnot. Did Model Hunger, which is a recent indie film that I really really like. She's in it. We just got a deal where we're getting a cameo from Linnea Quigley to doing the film. That's going to be actually the next thing we shoot in November, and then from there we shoot the bulk of the film.
Oh, that's awesome.
But and again, much like with Lynn Lowry, if you don't know who Linnea Quigley is and you're listening to a horror podcast, shame on you. Return of Living Dead, Creepazoids, Night of the Demons, Silent Night, Deadly Night. Come on,
Yeah, right.
those are exciting names, and everybody else that is in the film. I mean, like the people we shot with Brittany Blanton, Dixie Jeers, Trisha Trailer, Stan Trailer, their husband and wife. They do have a great scene together. We had Courtney Clark, Constance Madrano, Daniel Goad. Just it's a lot of people that I've worked with in the past, or that we've at least some of us have all worked in the past that are working on the project with HM&M and Tom and Dan. We put together a fun crew. That's something I look forward to as much as working with the actors. It's just because they're friends, and you get to be confidants in the business, and get to working with each other. So it's work. It's hard work making a movie, but it's also always fun to see your friends. So putting all them together, putting them in small parts in the movie, having them do things like sound and special effects. But God, and then working with Tom with this crazy character that I created for him called Dr. Kilwell. And yes, yeah, the name is called Kilwell. Half the time when I say, people are just like, wait, did you mean Kidwell? No, I didn't mean Kidwell. I said Kilwell. But it's a crazy character, and I pretty much wrote it for him, with him in mind, and he still ran an audition and went in full makeup and did a couple of little monologues from the film, and it gave me chills. I still have those auditions on my phone. I can't get rid of them. I had them for a year and a half. I just every once in a while just get giddy just kind of watching them. It's neat what everybody has taken from this film, because it means something to everyone, in a special way, because a couple other people have had family members that have had heart issues like I've had, and the characters in the movie have, and a few of the actors in the movie have had their own heart issues, which I've ended up bonding with a couple of them, or sharing stories of having heart attacks and strokes and heart failure, the things that come with having a bad ticker. and it's been nice. If anything, it's fun shooting, it's fun writing, but it's about the people you meet.
That's true.
That you meet along the way that you never would have met in any other facet of life, and that's a great thing.
That's true. And, we always say that connecting with people is probably one of the greatest things you can do because not only do you become good friends with them, but you can learn so much by somebody, really, just by their experiences of what they have done, which they're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, or well, maybe this would work better because it's just always cool to see like the type of oh man, what the word I'm looking for? Like the type of brainstorming or really anything that can come into play. And I mean, once you become friends, it's just that much easier too.
Yeah, when you get together with some people, your brains just click and ideas just roll out. And other people, it's like it's trying to pull teeth, and that's why I've been having so much fun making this film and just writing it with Tom and Dan. That it's just fun spitballing because they see things in the story that you might not have seen, or you see it from angles that they're not looking at, and you get bigger and better and crazier ideas.
That's true. That is very true. And just out of curiosity, do you guys have an idea of how long this film is going to be? Like is it going to be like an hour and a half or two, somewhere near 2 hours? What do you guys think?
We figured somewhere in the middle of that, about like an hour 45 minutes.
Okay, that's actually pretty good, pretty cool. I mean, I mean, yeah, I think that's pretty much like a really good length. It might be for some a little bit lengthy, but
Yeah.
you got like a lot of, like I said, and like what you were just saying too, is like we got a lot of good characters here and a lot of great actors where there's no way in hell you could probably fit all these people in like an hour and a half minute anyway. So
Maybe a little less, but it definitely won't be anymore. I wouldn't think. Just given the page length of the script, I would guess 95 minutes to an hour 45. It's all an estimate. You never know until you really get into editing. You might have a
that's
little
true.
more on your hands. You might have a little less.
That's very true. Now, what has been the hardest thing for either you or anything like really helping to get this movie off the ground?
The two main things, if I could narrow it down to two things, I would say one is my ongoing health issues has played a big part in slowing things down because there was a time we were supposed to shoot a couple of months ago. I had another surgery, and I just simply couldn't do it. I had to have a defibrillator put in, and then consequently taken out 5 weeks later. So that's another story.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been through the ringer. So it's just setbacks like that, and beyond that, it's just trying to raise the funds to shoot it correctly. We've so far shot the opening scenes. We got a great new Blackmagic pocket camera that we've started using on it, so it looks sweet. It looks really good. It looks better than anything I've ever shot before or ever been a part of before.
Wow.
But that's all thanks to Tony Walters, our DP. He's the one who got the camera set up. He got us set up with it, and he's pretty amazing with it.
Very cool. Now, unfortunately, this is like my first time ever hearing about you, so I apologize for that. But that's what happens with the indie world. But I'm looking at some of your titles here, like The Collective. You got Graveyard Blues, which is a short, and another short called The Exile. Graveyard Blues. Now I'm curious about that. That's a really clever title. What's Graveyard Blues about?
Graveyard Blues is about a woman who is a part of a religious, stuttering here, religious sect, and she's it's my ode to like Lovecraft and Poe. So that kind of era stuff. It's shot in black and white, a lot of black robes, a lot of candlelight, but it's basically about a woman who is part of a group or a sect that feeds the common folk, feeds people to this ancient beast that kind of lives underneath the graveyard. So they just drag up bodies every month, and it's about her last hurrah with the monster, which is very Cthulhu inspired. But it was actually the first thing I ever shot and like had produced and put on DVD and whatnot.
Wow.
Yeah, it's about 10 minutes long. It was part of something called The Collective that I was a part of for a couple of years, which was a series of short films. It was put out like on, I think, 7 separate DVDs, but it was all 10 short films by 10 different filmmakers, each of them 10 minutes long, but all based off the same idea. So, like, the first idea was just called The Meat Eater, and that was the idea that I came up for it. I mean, the next one was called The Box, and the box could be, whatever you want. And the third one was, I believe, called 10 Minutes to Live. So whatever, it was always, you had free reign to do whatever you want, but those were the parameters. One short film had to be about 10 minutes long within about 30 seconds of that, and had to be about the synopsis. It was really fun to be a part of for a while.
Well, this actually does sound like fun, and I'm a big Lovecraft fan. I freaking have a book that supposedly says it has all his works in it, but you just never know for sure. But I mean, it's got a pretty good list of what is there. But I mean, Lovecraft has always been one of my favorite type of author just because of his weird ways of telling a story.
His works don't really ever except in Lovecraft.
Wow. Yeah. Well, look at Poe. I mean, he sometimes Poe doesn't even get the credit he should get too. Or I love it when they try to compare Poe to Lovecraft work or vice versa. And oh god, so it's just I don't know. If I had to pick though, for sure, I think I would have to go with Lovecraft over Poe. Just saying, just because I think I brought up more with Lovecraft and Poe, but yeah, that's a whole new episode in itself, anyway. But that's
I'll join you for that episode because although I love both of them are very different, I believe.
Yeah, that's what makes them both great, though. That's why you can't really compare the two. But yeah, like I said, that's a that's a whole new thing.
Poe was about death and loss, and Lovecraft, in short, was about ancient demigods coming to take over the earth.
Yeah, which I don't understand why people have tried to compare those two, but whatever. Yeah. But is there any way to see Graveyard Blues anywhere? Is it available on?
It's available on the Collective. I don't know where to get them anymore because it's been about 6 years actually. Yeah, since they've come out. I have copies of it on DVD still. I probably have about 20, 25 of them. Anybody wants them, they can just contact me on Facebook, Cameron Scott. I'll hook them up with a DVD. I'll hook you up with one. Ain't no problem.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It just sounds fun, so I can't wait. I'll have to I'll have to take a look at this collective thing too when we get done. So
yeah, there was I think I was involved with at least 6.
Wow.
There was a couple of films, a couple of times where I worked on multiple films that, like one I directed, then another one I wrote for somebody else, and then another one I acted in. It was like everybody kind of knew each other, so it was a good way for independent filmmakers to get their stuff out at the time, when, it was a little more difficult to get your name out there. And, it kind of stretched your chops a little bit because all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm not in control of this anymore. Like, what is the next chapter going to be? Like, when it went to 10 Minutes to Live, my mind just sprung with the possibilities. I'm like, oh, God, I instantly have 20 ideas to do for that.
Nice. Yeah, no, creativity is probably one of the coolest things because we can take something and just create some type of way to show a story, even if it's based on true events or just to have a good laugh or whatever. And then it's just I'm trying to figure out where I'm trying to go with this, but I mean it's nice to see originality too because I don't know about you, Cameron, but I'm kind of getting sick and tired of hearing reboots and remakes and all this other crap. But I mean. Yeah,
I end up disliking about 3/4 to 90% of them. To be honest, there's a rare occasion where there's one that was like, wow, that was really good. like, I don't know, Hills Have Eyes. I thought the first one was a good remake. The first Dawn of the Dead, when they remade that a second time, I think, and then the other ones, The Day of the Dead, both of those remakes. Oh gosh, so bad. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I hate about 90% of them, to be honest. I guess I'm a curmudgeon old fart that way. It's kind of like, get your chocolate on my peanut butter. My peanut butter is just fine.
He put chocolate in my peanut butter. Oh God, there we go. Oh man, that reminds me of that goddamn scene in a cartoon that I watched. Anyway, freaking if Family Guy, you might get the idea of what I'm talking about. Yeah. He put chocolate in my peanut butter. He put peanut butter in my chocolate, and then the officer that shows up is named Reese's, and then it's just freaking ridiculous. But yeah, no,
for that one,
it's just. I just find it that, like, once you get used to knowing the classics when you're a young kid or whenever you got first introduced into horror and stuff, like, not to keep telling the story too, but I think it's been a while, but I think it has. But anyway, like, to tell you too, Cameron, is like, my first ever horror movie that I got into was when I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and I snuck downstairs of my old, like, parents' house. And like I'm trying to like hide behind a little wall that we have because like there's like a little doorway, entryway, whatever you want to call it, that goes into the living room at our old place, and they were watching Bram Stoker's Dracula, where it was the werewolf scene in the table. Right? Yeah, so. Of course, as a kid, I'm just like watching it for 10 minutes, like, and it's just like, I don't know if I should be watching this. So I like went back upstairs, and yeah, I mean,
it's probably the worst time as a young kid to probably walk into that movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh, this is what this movie's about. Well, I'm gonna go back. I'm just gonna eat my chocolate chip cookie and just not think about what I seen.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's like what happened to you or something. Like, oh, I better go upstairs since I'm supposed to be sleeping. And yeah, but then later on down the road is when I found out it was Bram Stoker Dracula. So it's just like, oh, geez,
My first movie memory was seeing Fulci's Zombie. Believe it or not, that I know I've seen movies before that, but it's the first one I remember seeing. My mother had taken me to the drive-in to see some movie. I don't remember what the movie was that we were supposedly going to go see, because there was 3 screens at the drive-in, and I remember having my face plastered to the driver's side window, or the passenger side window, I mean, and just staring out the screen at all the yuckiness that was happening in Fulci Zombie. So if you've ever seen Fulci, you know he can be a bit gruesome. So I remember that damn eyeball stabbing scene. And that's what I remember. I was just like, I don't know what I just seen, but I'm like, I know I want to see more of it. As twisted as that sounds.
I think that's like kind of like what I said too. Like, what the hell did I just see? I want to see more of this or something. Like, it's just so weird when you first get introduced to something, like, especially at a scene like you said that I kind of barred into, that scene where you're like, I don't know if you should be seeing this, but yeah, exactly.
I don't remember what we were even she was taking me to see at the time, but I remember seeing Fulci. I remember seeing Zombie. I mean, it might have been like something mundane like E.T. or Benji, or something like that. But I didn't remember that shit. Oh, pardon me. I don't know if you can curse on this show.
You can curse on here. I just haven't cursed yet because I haven't heard you say anything yet.
Yeah, I slipped. Sorry, but yeah, it's.
I don't care.
But yeah, it just burned into my little brain. It's probably why zombie movies is one of my 2 or 3 favorite genres.
Well, yeah, I mean, we all find something that we love and stuff. Like, for me, it's got to be the Alien franchise. Well, the Alien franchise that I guess I would say I like is like 1 to 3. 4 is kind of just like, what the hell is going on here? And like Alien versus Predator, I just think of those as it's definitely its own universe. I don't even look at it.
I don't consider it canon. The only thing that made even the first one canon to me was having Lance Henriksen in it.
Yes.
It's like the only thing that like links it up at all. But yeah, I was not a fan of that or Requiem.
Requiem, yeah. Oh God.
But
Pred Alien. Oh man. Wow, my God. What are they gonna think of next?
I don't want to ask those. I've stopped asking questions like that because I usually get answered like, "What would happen if they remade this?" I wonder what would happen if they made a sequel to this, and then like all of a sudden, oh, they're remaking Night of the Comet. Oh, they're doing a sequel to Critters and Leprechaun that's within the timeline. I'm like, what? What? I'm just gonna stop talking. I'm like every time I like say something, I would wonder if this had happened. It just magically is like next thing I know, it's like on Dread Central, bloody discussing. Oh, like great, that's already happening. Like, no, I don't want to see this remakes and stuff like that. Some of the news is great, but some of it's just like, no more remakes.
Yeah, that's like oh man, that's like Sharknado. Like who just sit there and just go, what if we take a tornado and just put sharks in it? And then it's just like, man, what are they gonna think of next? And then you hear coming soon, Clown NATO. What?
Clownado is brilliant, though, man. I've seen it. I saw it screen a couple of months ago. It's absolutely brilliant. It's a
Is it really?
great. It is. If you're not a fan of Todd Sheets, then you should be. He
Okay.
makes excessively gory movies, excessively crazy, cheesy movies, but they are fun. They're not. Some movies are just bad, but some
Well,
of them
yeah.
are so bad good. This is even to a different level. He's one of the few guys out there that has made it a true art form. It's really good. I couldn't recommend it more if it comes out. Give it a shot. I actually love crazy shark movies. Actually, when I want something mindless to watch, like it's the equivalent of, like, like you're gonna have a steak or you're gonna have a hamburger. Both are good, but it's like sometimes you need a quick hamburger. I was just watching something like this morning in the background while I was writing called Post Apocalyptic Commando Shark. It was just on Prime, and I'm like, I know that I know a dude that like helped make this. I'm like, I want to give this a shot, and then I ended up finding that I was watching the movie more than I was actually getting things done in writing.
Oh wow.
So it's like, okay, I'm okay. I'm like, I'll have to watch this later when I like, you know, usually when an idea hits me, I like to get it down and just on on paper, so to speak,
Yep.
before I forget it. I
Yep.
was like, nah, this one was so good it distracted me.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty good. Yeah. I mean, I remember one that I saw where it was like sand sharks, then there's like an ice shark, and then there's like a house shark, and then what
I
was the
saw
other?
House Shark too.
And
I
then
saw.
what was? And then the two-headed shark or three-headed shark? I can't
Oh,
remember what the hell
they're
it's
up to
called.
five. They've made like four sequels. They start off with the two-headed shark attack, then three, four, five, and I believe six. So there's
Oh
five.
my god.
There's almost as many of those as there are Sharknado movies.
Oh no.
The thing is, I love them though. They're like it's like eating a candy bar. You might regret it later. Your teeth might hurt, but it's
Oh yeah, it's just
it's still
it's just
so
like
satisfying.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we all love those dumb movies that we got to turn on just because we enjoy the dumbness or the silliness or just that like weird idea of like 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 a two-headed shark. Like what? So
Like somebody okayed that. Somebody wrote that. Somebody had fun and says, "Hey, I'm taking a week or a month off. I'm going to write this." And what's it called? Five-headed shark attack.
yeah,
Sharktopus versus Piranaconda.
yeah.
Whatever. I would
Bear.
love to write a movie like that, just for shits and giggles.
Yeah, yeah. Those are. I haven't seen those yet. Like the shark the poster versus whatever. But I'm just like, what the hell?
I'm
Uh,
nuts with movies. Sorry, I tend to help people make people go way off track.
no, no, no. It's all good. It's all good. I kind of am to blame for it too. So it's all fun. It's not. It doesn't always have to be so serious.
Sometimes I get off track of what we're supposed to be talking about and be like, okay, somebody said shark movie. Oh, look, squirrel.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, squirrel. That's the next thing we need to see is a killer squirrel or something. Because just last year I found out that there's an indie film called Tree Venge, and then that thing is is so good that it's like awful at the same time, but it's so good and funny at the same time. I don't know if you ever heard of it. Treevenge. It's on YouTube. It's freaking ridiculous.
It's like
It's like
a short film, like 20, 30 minutes long or something like that, isn't it?
I want to say like 20 minutes long or so, yeah. Where it's like,
Uh,
these people cut down the trees and the trees are talking and like
yeah,
they somehow
I've seen
plan to
that.
like
It's
attack
the
the
same
people.
fella that directed the Hobo with a Shotgun movie. I can't. His name escapes me right now. I can't remember. But I was a big fan of that. And that's actually what turned me on to Treevenge. I was just like, what else has this guy done? I was like, oh, Treevenge, Killer Tree movie. It's kind of like Rubber, a movie about a killer tire. I was like, okay, I'm down.
That movie.
Don't like that movie, do you?
No, I thought it was freaking hilarious. I remember just seeing seeing it, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on here? It's like we get an audience watching the tire, and then the tire comes back to like blow them up too eventually or whatever. I forget exactly, but it's been so long.
Tire blew him up psychically with his mind.
Yeah, and then
That doesn't tell you what kind of fucking ride you're in for. Oh my god.
Or we should might as well just say, how about the beginning when we just see the bunny rabbit staring at the tire and the tire just shakes and then boom.
I know. The first time I watched it, I was like, did I miss something? Like, are they going to cut to a guy with a high-powered rifle and then like he blew the bunny away and it's not really the tire? Because I'm like, they're really going to go here? I was like, it wasn't that I
They
wasn't
did.
sold. I was just like, they're really this. That I guess this is really what we're in for. Let's keep rolling. Get more popcorn. Fuck it.
Exactly. No, I thought it was really fun. So anytime somebody had to bring up like what's the most ridiculous movie you ever seen, I gotta tell them like at least two titles or three titles at least. The first one is definitely always gonna be Thanksgiving, and
Good.
and then Rubber, and then the third one I would say would be Zombievers.
Zombievers, yeah, that's a weird one. I like it, but it's definitely odd.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I gotta throw it on the list every time somebody asks me the weirdest one. I don't know. Maybe it's just because of the weird beaver practical effects things. I just don't know. I don't know.
Usually, I just suggest anything by David Lynch. I'm like, if you want a mind screw, you want a complete mind screw, just watch anything that man's directed
Oh boy.
because you're not in any sort of reality whatsoever.
Well,
It's great. Oh.
then I'll add to the fact of that's like saying go watch Thanksgiving number 3. They actually skipped Thanksgiving 2 to go to number 3, but there's a reason for it because Thanksgiving 3 is about Turkey who is trying to find the last copy of Thanksgiving 2. But oh my god, the new character that they like add to it just makes it that much more like what the fuck am I watching? And the best part is there's like a drinking game for this too. So yeah, so you can get plastered and watch it.
That's great. That sounds great. I'd have to
Oh,
watch
it is.
that. I didn't know there was a 3. I actually know. Take it back. I didn't know there was a 3, but I was like, well, I can't seem to find part 2. I guess I never put put the 2 and 2 together. That like, oh, no, that is the 2 and 2. There is no part 2.
Well,
Yeah,
I
know
didn't
that.
know that either until I bought the oh god, what do they call it? The complete series or whatever they call it, where it's just 1 and 3, and it says somewhere like this is the first film that actually skipped over the sequel just to go to the whatever you want to call it.
The third installment or whatever.
Yeah, but I think they had like a technical term for it, but whatever. But yeah, that's pretty much what it was, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense because in 3, Turkey is going after number 2. Okay, I get it. Didn't really click in my head at all the first time either, but yeah, that just tells you. And then the scary thing, real quick, is have you seen that guy's latest movie? After you've seen like Saint Killing, but have you seen like his latest film? It's called The Headhunter. It's so much better than Saint Killing. It's like, oh my god, dude, you went from this to this. Like this is incredible.
No, I've never even heard of it. I mean, I remember the movie Headhunters, like from the '80s, but Yeah.
Oh man, I'll have to send you the trailer later. But yeah, it's called The Headhunter.
Just
It's
the
about
Headhunter. I'll find it.
yeah, it's about this guy that lost his daughter to this monster, and so like this guy goes after like the monsters or whatever. But the only trophy quote that is missing unquote is the monster that took his daughter away from him.
Ah, okay. Excuse me.
But yeah, that's a very interesting film. Like when I found out who was behind this Headhunter one, I was like, really? I was like, oh my god, I never would have saw. I never would have saw it. So it definitely took me for a surprise for sure.
Well, and I know there's a word for what you were saying too. When they skip a kind of an episode, and
Yeah, the
skip a chapter.
sequel. Yeah, I just can't think of it.
Like Robert Rodriguez did it with his mariachi trilogy. He pretty much like skipped part 3 and went right to part 4.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
they call that.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up, and then I'll probably have to be like, "This is the word I'm probably was looking for." But yeah, but Hobo with a Shotgun, that was by or directed by Jason Eisner, I want to say.
Okay,
And
that's not right.
yeah, and then the writer was John Davies. So, and yeah, wow, $3 million budget. I did not really know that. Huh, interesting.
I'd be amazed at what kind of money goes into a movie, especially if it's even like slightly put on in Hollywood or near Hollywood.
That's true. That's true. But anyway, real quick too, Cameron, is there anything that you want to talk about for deaf care? The only thing I can think of really for sure, besides for people listening to check out the Indiegogo to help you guys out with funds to help make it, is how are you guys going about the location of, or should I say, locations of the film?
Oh well, a lot of that legwork was either done by Dan and a little bit by myself. Dan Murphy lives out in Indiana near Winnemac and Logansport, and he's got just access to having lived in the area for so many years. He's got access to so many cool locations, and one of the main locations is a friend of ours who's actually our production manager, Rebecca Erb. And she's also an actress in the film. She plays Nurse Carmen. She had a basement that had a whole like sub room that we painted and made to look like a hospital, like a little sub room that looks like got a little hallway leading up to a room, and it's got a little operating room. And I say operating room, but it's more or less like a torture chamber. But but yeah, we Tony Walters and Dan Murphy both spent some weeks painting and organizing and moving stuff and getting equipment together with Rebecca and setting that up in her basement. But one of the main locations we're looking forward to is shooting at is a place called Ashmore Estates. Ashmore Estates is was a real I guess it was like a convalescent home or an old folks home. I'm not really sure the history of it 100%, but it was kind of used as a mental asylum and whatnot in the early 1900s. Well, it's now like one of the most haunted and paranormal buildings in Illinois. I believe it might be the most haunted building in Illinois. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% of that. Don't quote me on that, but I know it's up there. But we know the fella who owns and operates and runs it, Robin Terry, who's been kind enough to let us shoot part of it there, because it does have a couple of wings that still look like a creepy old decrepit hospital, at least where you would expect these people to be operating out of. It's an amazing location, and yeah, he's done us a great favor by letting us shoot there, or allowing us to shoot there. That's where the next shoot will be taking place.
Nice. Now, just out of curiosity, just because I know we're like 3 months away from the month of Halloween and stuff, but are you like a believer in the paranormal? Are you a skeptic? I'm just curious. What's your opinion?
I'm mostly leaning towards being a septic.
Skeptical?
No, yeah. Oh gosh, a skeptic. But I have also seen things and heard things that I just can't understand. I think it's like most things in life. A lot of it is a BS, but there's always a little truth there. You just got to kind of realize who's trying to pull your leg. To be honest, I think there's a lot of activity out there that we just don't know about. You know, I'm still a skeptic. I hear it. I hear something. I'm analyzing that tape, man. Like I totally just like, oh look, it sounds like they said such and such. Like, no, it didn't. It sounded like somebody farted, for crying out loud. It doesn't sound like anything. It sounds like somebody sneezed, and it's like, oh look, that shadow was a person walking. It's not always a shadow person, but there's always those 1 out of every 10 that just like, okay, there's no way to explain this. If you can explain it to me, then I'll rationally, there is no rational answer why you should see some of the things and hear some of the things that you hear. And
fair enough.
And then if this is, really it, all that we got to look forward to, the universe aimed rather low and settled for very little.
That's always a good thing too. So yeah. Well, that's awesome. When it's so. I guess the only other thing really that I can think of for death care really is like, is there any plan for a sequel? Is this a standalone? Do you know, is there like an open ending or something, or is it more like, well, this is what's going on. We get the idea that the nurses are trying to take out the weak people and maybe the strong people, depending on how the film is. I'm not quite sure, but just out of, I guess, curiosity, is like, is there possibly a chance to see a sequel, or just, like I said, a standalone?
Oh no, there would be. There's already actually an idea for a sequel. I kind of wrote a few ideas down, just a couple bits and pieces for an outline, but it would be nothing like Death Care. It's a sequel with a couple of the same characters, but in totally different kind of aspects of their life, where it wouldn't be. I guess it's kind of like how the House of Thousand Corpses and Devil Rejects are like sister brother films. They're related, but they're totally different themes. If I'm making any sense at all. But
No, I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like another movie about killer nurses, but it may have a killer nurse in it.
Right. Somehow it's almost as let me see if I'm actually understanding it. So this is gonna be it right here. So it's almost like saying this could be either a continuation but in a different way, or B, it's part of the same universe as Death Care.
Oh, it's part of the same universe. It's still part of the same universe, definitely, because it all deals with the fallout and the aftershock from the events of the first film. Is basically kind of like the few people that are left, about them picking up the pieces later, and kind of going on with their life. Like this episode of their life is over. Here's the
Now
next.
it's on to the next one.
Yeah, it's like now it's not so much they're in this. They're not going to be the same scenario. It's not like, as much as I say, like for instance, I love Halloween 1 and 2, the original Halloween and part 2, but the second one is just what it is. It's a continuation of the same night, so you're getting more of the same. It'd be kind of the opposite. You would be getting more of the same characters, but a totally different film. The idea that I came up with. I'm not really like saying much about the plot, because it's all still kind of up in the air with which characters are going to live and which characters are going to carry on and whatnot. But I think it's a neat idea. I've actually not only I had an idea for a second one, but I actually have a totally fucking schizo idea for a third one.
Oh, geez. Well, just hopefully it's not. If you do continue, hopefully it doesn't end up like Wrong Turn series, or even like Saw.
No, not that like that. No.
Yeah,
I find being nearly as successful as they are, but sometimes certain sequels have no clue to when their longevity is over. I'm just taking it one movie at a time. It's always neat to kind of keep an idea in the back of your head, because there's many times I've thought of ideas for sequels to like Postmortem America 2021 or one of my collective shorts, and then I would in turn use that idea but turn it into an original idea. So it's like it may Death Care may stand to be the standalone film, but the idea for the sequel I might end up using for a totally different idea altogether. But anytime I have an idea, I write it down because I never know when it's going to, be useful.
Exactly.
I've kept ideas. I started writing an idea from a script I wrote in '95. One time I was just going through these boxes of old notebooks that I wrote scripts in. I'm like, what was this one? I'm like, this red notebook here. And I'm like, started reading. I'm like, oh, I don't even remember writing this. Like, it was '95, it was more than 20 years ago. And I'm just like, I'm gonna put this through a second draft. And I've obviously, since I was, 18, 19 years old, I've evolved as a writer to the point where I'm like, some of it was embarrassing, but I'm like, I knew what I was trying to convey here as an 18-year-old.
And that's always the fun thing, though. And looking back on like some of your old work, you can definitely even. I mean, not not trying to like down ourselves, if you know what I'm trying to say. Like it's like you're looking at your older self and like you're like, okay, I know what I was trying to say, but now that I've grown older, like now I can be like, okay, well, if I wanted to rechange it better, or yeah, to make it better, I can now.
Right. Or just more
Yeah.
coherent, even.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's what makes it really cool is like having writing and stuff. So I mean, like for me, like like I'm starting to do my own thing and stuff, and like every time, kind of like with you, like if I have an idea for like something I want to do, I'll write it down. Is it gonna happen? Maybe. I mean, it's just one of those things where time. It's really, I guess, time and money, or money is time, and all that other good stuff. But yeah,
we can all just afford to be independently wealthy and be able to create just art in any way of expression, whatnot. That would be great, but it's a perfect world, and then type of idea, and this ain't a perfect world. It'd just be nice if that would work out.
yeah, no kidding. But speaking of which, so to wrap this up too is so I guess I'm wondering is if we wanted to keep up with anything deaf care, where could somebody go to keep up with you guys with updates? If you have any like websites or like Facebook and Instagram, or unless you just have a website of your own. Also, is there anything that we should expect, I guess, coming into deaf care, and I guess the last thing is this, if you want to plug anything else?
Okay.
Free.
Well, the best way to find us is through the Death Care, just as it sounds, Death Care Facebook page. Most everything gets posted on there. We have a Death Care cast page. There's HM&M Films. They also have a website, hmnmfilms.com. You can look up my production company, which is Quattro Venti Scott Productions. We're posted on there all the time. Just look up any of our personal pages for Dan Murphy, Tom Komisar, myself, Cameron Scott. And we usually post it on Instagram. Some of us do Twitter. I personally do not do Twitter or Instagram. I'm just a Facebook guy. It's about as much as I like to try to manage. But right now we are running an Indiegogo. There's a couple of podcasts that we've been on and interviews that have been done here in the last week, that one of them I believe is supposed to go live sometime this afternoon. It was a YouTube interview that I did over the weekend at Days of the Dead in Indianapolis. So there's got a couple of those coming out, and just check out our Indiegogo. Just go on Indiegogo, type in Death Care. We are the first thing that comes up.
Well, I appreciate your time, Cameron, and for those listening too, if you want to make it easier too, if you're lazy, I know how some people are lazy and like links, so we'll drop a link to the Indiegogo in the episode description. You can also go to our website at ehpodcast.com. When you're there, you're going to see the category that says support, and then from there you're going to hover over crowdfunding or crowdfund, whatever it is, and then you should see Deaf Care, and then from there you just click it, and then right to Indiegogo you go with Deaf Care. And I would support it too because I think like one of the cool things about their Indiegogo. Let me just pull this up real quick. Not only does it
Yeah,
seem now with uh, Death Care, it looks like you guys upgraded from a DVD to Blu-ray now, and check this out, people. For $5, you can even get a special thanks on IMDb. That's incredible. Cause you know what? A lot of people want like your arm and leg just to even put your name on an IMDb thing. So that's really nice of
yeah.
them.
We thought, see some people charge pretty exorbitant amounts of money for just that. It's like it just I just don't get that. Like your people charging $185 for special thanks in the opening credits or the closing credits. I'm like, really? Like,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Some
yeah,
people were talking about the Terrifier fundraiser, which $85 for a DVD, but you get something substantial. I don't really see the problem with that, but when you charge almost $200 for just a special thanks, that's just crazy. I thought the Terrifier deal was great. You get an autographed DVD from the director and star, Art the Clown. I mean, like that, I'd throw down for that.
yeah.
$5
Exactly.
for a special thanks. I've helped out many of filmmakers with just $5. Sometimes that's all I could give.
Yep.
But if everybody just gave $5, it would a lot of these projects would happen.
Oh man, I could not agree with you more than what I am right now because I was just talking about this with another person, and I'm not trying to kill, like keep us yapping here, but like one thing I just want to mention, it just put what people need to understand too is when it comes to crowdfunding, you need to start giving people like indie people here, like Cameron here and his crew who trying to make Death Care a chance. We can't always look for that brand name that we know. We need to give indie people a chance because otherwise we're gonna keep seeing the same washed up stuff that we already know, and unfortunately, that seems to be it's like Fry from Futurama. I can't exactly remember the quote that he says in that cartoon, but Fry said it best, which it has something to go like you. What you need to do is you need to make the same exact washed up stuff that we already know thousands of times because nobody wants anything new, and it's just like that's true because once
That's why
we
there's so
see
many remakes.
exactly, and it's just and then that's why when people like me and Cameron, we want the originality. If not more people, we can't get the originality because nobody is giving new people a chance to shine on their new stuff either. And even if it's just $5, I mean, everybody can afford $5. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, I always say if you sacrifice just a pack of cigarettes or whatever, if that's your vice, or if your energy drink or coffee in the morning is your vice. If you some people get 2 or 3 of those a day. If you just sacrifice just one coffee,
Yeah,
it'll be
exactly.
cool.
Yeah, exactly.
But
And
we've been doing pretty good so far. I've got confidence that we're going to make it. It'll be a long road, but we'll make it.
well, you guys got 53 days left, and I mean, you got a really flexible goal of 5,000, and I mean that. And where you guys are now, I mean, yeah, it seems like a slow start, but it will eventually pick up. And it's just all about getting your name out there too, and just getting the word out there. Because you guys originally were actually doing like PayPal donation that way, and then now, I believe, yeah, this is your first Indiegogo campaign. I don't know if you guys were ever on Kickstarter, but I know this is like your
No,
first
no.
actual campaign. So I,
This
I
is a
definitely
actual campaign.
yeah, I definitely give you guys a lot of props, and I just can't wait to see what you guys are making. And yeah, just can't wait for next year.
Oh, thank you, man, and thank you for having me on. I haven't done a Skype interview for a long time. I was like, I don't even know how to use my Skype anymore. But it's been fun. It's been good shooting the breeze with you about horror. It's nice to find
Yeah,
somebody with like-minded opinions on horror genre as it is today.
Right, right. I feel the same way, man. And we'll definitely have to even have you back on just to even talk horror in general. It doesn't even have to be about death care. We can just find something else and just butcher it or just talk about it. Either way. So,
Yeah. Have me. Ask me to come on anytime. My days are hard to fill sometimes, so I get bored easily. I need stuff to do. So yeah, no, I'll shoot the breeze about horror any day of the week with anybody.
well, hell yeah, man. I'll definitely reach out. Definitely.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Well, yeah, on that note, Cameron, thanks again. I don't want to
Thank
take
you.
up any more of your time. And for everybody else listening, make sure, like I said, go to Indiegogo, type in Deaf Care, should be like the very first thing that pops up. Click on that bad boy and, just donate that $5. That's five $1 copies a week that you can just sacrifice just for an IMDb credit. Or,
Wait, where can you find a coffee for $1? I want to shop where you're shopping, man.
Cumberland. Cumberland, man. Cumberland Farm, that gas station. They usually sell coffee for like 99 cents.
God, I gotta find one of those near me.
Well,
Sorry,
I thought it
bad
would be
joke, bad
everywhere,
joke.
but I guess not. Oh, damn.
And you're out of where?
I'm out of Vermont.
Oh, okay. I'm in Illinois, so it might be just a different chain out there.
Yeah.
Out here, it seems like you can't touch a coffee for under about 250. If you're lucky on sale.
Wow.
$1 coffee, man. I might like save more money in gas just driving out there to get a freaking cup of coffee.
Yeah, it's like any size for $1 or something like that. I'll have to even double check that, but yeah, I just know it's like 99 cents for a coffee at Cumberland Farms.
That's awesome. See, I'm the king of getting us off track talking about stuff like coffee.
Dude, I love coffee, so I mean, coffee is my blood. So,
There you
uh,
go.
yeah. But on that note, yes, Cameron, thank you again. We'll definitely have to have you back on, even if just like rambling minds and stuff. And I think I know the perfect guy that would probably be good for this too. Who like to, it's kind of like you. Like once he hears something, he takes us to that route of the road, and then forget about what we talked about for like
Then when they ended up having a
minutes.
10-minute conversation, about something totally unrelated.
Exactly, kind of like what we did with sharks, which yeah, we already had that conversation, but yeah, that was fun. But yes, I don't know how many times, but yes, Cameron, thank you again. We'll
Oh,
definitely
thank
keep
you.
in touch, and yeah, I look forward to Deaf Care, and show should everybody here listening, because it's just, yeah, like I said, just check it out. We talked about it on our website, so you can easily go to ehpodcast.com, go to the search bar, type in Deaf Care, and then there should be like 2 or 3 results. So yeah, should be
Right on.
good.
And thanks again for having me on. Appreciate it.
You too, and for everybody else listening, make sure to always stay scary.